I always tell people, and we kind of got into this in the conversation yesterday, that I think that if you see a car, now patience to me is very important in the hobby.
Yep.
When you see a car that you think or you say that you want to add to your PC, it may not be something that can happen that day. It could be something that can happen over time if you work your way to it. I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today from
Yeah.
some, right? From some
Yeah.
people that are buying cars. It's an instantaneous thing, and it hasn't always been instantaneous for me. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's I don't want to present it this way, but it's the most honest answer. Um, when we're all young, when we're all younger, and we had to kind of mind our but it doesn't mean we don't mind our budgets now. But
Mhm.
now we have a little thing called the credit card
That's right.
and line of credit. We can kind of cheat a little bit and
Yeah.
be like, we'll rob Peter to pay Paul, and we'll kind of like extend it out. Don't worry about it. You'll pay it eventually.
Hmm.
That's future Carlos's problem. That tends to be how we accommodate.
Hmm.
That's why I said like at the time $600 was the going rate. I want it's not like I got a super bargain at that time, but it was a fair price. It
That's
was the
right.
right price for this at that time.
Hmm.
Well, it's 4 to 5 to 6x since then. So, and especially if it's got good eye appeal and the card's clean on both sides, so like it would go for more than 4, 5, 6 times that what it did at that time.
Yeah,
But that's because at the time it was so for me at that time it was a stretch. But stretching $600 is different than stretching $3,000.
that's
Even with
true.
inflation, like, there's a very big difference in the level of stretch.
So walk us through, because to me the strategy on things is always important, and like to talk to people about their strategy. What steps do you go through to finalize what card you would like to invest in?
Mhm.
What are you doing?
Ooh, hashtag invest. Uh, when if I'm going to do that, so my first thought is always from the collector side of it. I'm always looking at the collector side of it. It has to be something that's interesting to me that I'd want anyway. It has to be something that I'm quite willing to sit on and enjoy and collect.
That's right.
Um, Here, the process is like any other thing. It's research and trying to figure out what you're trying to do. Having some kind of an idea, a strategy, a plan. I very rarely think about it from the investing perspective, but it tends to work out. But maybe if I was going to distill it down to one simple idea, um, cards are not like real estate. They're very different markets. However, one rule of real estate does apply to cards. You win the deal on the purchase. If you buy it at a good
Speak on that.
price,
Yep.
you win the deal on the purchase because
Right.
then you're not as concerned about the fluctuations. If it goes up a little bit, it goes down a little bit. You're this I paid $600 for.
There you go.
If it goes from 3,000 to 2,500, oh my god! If you pay 3,000, it's oh man, it went down 500.
Problem.
It's
Yeah,
like it's 1,900 more than what I started. What do I care?
that's right.
If I and it's liquid enough, I can sell this if it's not an issue.
I feel the same way. I think this is why I try to put so much research into what should the initial price be that I'm paying for a card, and then my negotiation technique to understand how do we talk through this process on what the price of the card is.
Yeah,
There have been some people that ask me like, why you harp so much? Why are you so concerned with that? And it's just like what you just said.
yeah.
To
But
me,
there's
if
one
I
more thing
buy
I would
in at
add.
a certain level, then
Yeah,
I've protected myself for some risk in the future.
yeah. There's one more thing I would add though as well is that the mentality that I have with it, like I said, if you take it from the collector side of mentality of it, I'm quite happy to hang on to these cards. It's not an
Mhm.
issue. I don't care. Um, if the price explodes on it and somebody wants to pay me a crazy amount of money compared to what I pay for it, I'm not going to turn your money down. That's fine. That's okay. But the truth is, it's much easier to be comfortable if the cards are not a line item on your assets to the point that you're living and dying on the sale of a specific card.
Yeah.
If that's not an issue for you, then there's no urgency. You're not acting out of desperation, and that's where you make mistakes. It's like if you're acting like, oh, I have to sell this. It's like why? To cover all these other things about. Then you shouldn't have bought those other things. That was a terrible idea.
For
You shouldn't
sure.
have done that. You should never be acting. Oh, I have to sell. No, I'll sell it if I want to, and it'll sell at the price that I want because I don't need to sell it.
And to me, what like collecting was is such fun to me. It's been such a joy since I was young because it taught me a level of financial responsibility. Right. If I'm buying cars, it's like what you just talked about. Um, I should, me personally, I feel like can't speak for everyone. I should never be in a situation where I'm depriving my household. My credit line is in jeopardy,
Yeah,
or I can't pay certain bills that are important to me because I'm stating that I'm investing in this card.
Yeah.
Like that's a principle that has been very important to me over time.
Yeah.
How responsible am I with what I'm doing and what steps am I taking while I am investing or even buying a car or walking a car show or making a purchasing decision. Those are things that are important to me.
Yeah. But just think of how much easier a negotiation is if you really can walk away. If it's
So
not
I
a
used to work in
tactic.
sales. Carlos, I used to work in sales. And every account that I went into is no different than a car show. I could walk away at any moment. Like,
Yeah.
if the conversation is not going a certain way, I don't have a problem
Yeah.
with just walking away.
But that
And
is the most powerful tool in a negotiation. If they're like, no, it's not a tactic. He's serious. If you really don't want to do the deal at that price, that's okay.
that's right.
They'll walk away.
The best alternative to a negotiated agreement is walking away.
It's very tempting when prices are moving up to try to be a little bit more aggressive and go after that. You can pick your spots though. It's one of those things where there's almost always an opportunity. Um, the other thing that's honestly a challenge is people, they have kind of this retroactive FOMO. They go, "Oh man, if I had bought that like 5 years ago," it's like, yeah, we all have that. That's part of
We all
the
have
game.
that.
But it works both ways. It's like, yeah, 5 years ago you made a decision not to. You did have that opportunity because the same way that you're complaining about the prices going up is that it's like, well, you could have done something about it all along the way. We didn't get there all at once.
That's right.
My favorite was the classic, the iconic card, the 52 tops mantle. In the old guides in the early 90s, it was $8,000. That's what they put on there. Now, some of them would have cost you a little bit more, some of them would cost you a little bit less, and that's 8,000 is like for the near mint copy. That's what they would put
And
on the
and that
guide.
was 8,000 before we started grading cards.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
right.
But here's the thing: imagine if you had picked up one with nice eye appeal, and you picked it up, and you paid 8 grand. Everyone would have told you you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Where
True.
are you at today? 30 years on.
True.
You put it.
Think
You put it
about
in that little
think
piece of
about the
plastic.
mantle. Think about the mantle that collector picked up for a little over $100,000 in the '90s.
Yeah, Marshall Fogel,
Everybody,
the
yeah,
PSA 10. Yeah,
everybody thought he was crazy. What is that car worth now? I
yeah.
can remember going to the National. Man, this was probably about 10 to 12, probably 15 years ago. I saw a Michael Jordan autographed jersey in a oak frame, like
Mhm.
with a glass front for $5,000.
Yep.
And I stood there, Carlos, for about 5 to 10 minutes looking at that jersey and asked myself, do I make that move on one thing or do I take that and do other things here?
Hmm.
I opted to go do other things. Now I look at that jersey now, jersey's worth a lot. It was numbered.
Yeah,
Any Jordan jersey now that is numbered is worth a lot. But I'm still good with making that decision to go do something else.
yeah. But that was
And I didn't spend all that money that I had on anything there, and I walked away with some funds still in my pocket.
yeah. The thing is that the thing you learn if you're around long enough is that you will have those fork in the road moments, and then afterwards, if you want to sit there and lament on it, you certainly can. You're welcome to it, but um, the hobby, the way I like to phrase these things is that the hobby is built on nostalgia for a lot of us. It's built on nostalgia trying to get into it. But there are folks who actively like to live in the past. I don't. So it's like nostalgia is fine, but then actively living in the past, that's the toxic version of it. It's
I
like you
agree.
just please
I agree with that.
we're living in the present. Let's move on. Let's focus on what we can do now. All
There's
right, you
more to
messed it
get
up.
done.
Fix it next time. Don't worry,
Yeah.
do better next time.
There's more to do. There's more fun to have. There's more people to meet and have conversations with.
Yeah. The present's more dynamic than the past. There was somebody, if I can ever find it, I'll send it to you because I think it's actually a really good visual. Somebody did like a little infographic, and what they did is they did two sides of a picture, and on the first side of it is this branch with all these little roots and all these things going, and it shows this one little path carved out. That was your past. That's the path you took. But then you can see all these other paths you could have taken that are all grayed out.
That's
And
right.
then all of a sudden there's a dividing line, and then there's a second part of it. Every single branch is active. That's the present. Those are all your options and all the directions you can go. Past can't fix it. You already made your decision. It's done. The present, you got 1,000 choices.
Yeah, you can go in many different directions. I always tell young people that, and this applies, I think, to even the older people too, that you have 360 degrees in which you can move, different things you can do. And as you make decisions throughout life, you may close or change certain doors that could have opened for you. If you keep that in mind as you're making decisions, it'll help you guide you through the decisions that you're making.
Yeah. I just think it's
Someone
more
told me that
exciting.
when I was real young. It helped me out.
Yeah. I just think it's more exciting to look at the prospects to come because the opportunity in front of you is like you're actively getting a chance to make a choice right now,
That's right.
as opposed to it's like that other thing. It's like, all right, you want to think about it? Think about it later. You already did it.
And I
You're not.
tell
You
people
don't get
like
to
in
turn back.
basketball, right? We talk about Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Who's the next 25, 30,000 point scorer? That person is coming.
Yeah.
Who is that person? Let's find out who that person is. Who's the next person that may challenge? There's going to be somebody that may challenge Kareem, LeBron, Karl Malone for all-time scoring in the NBA. Who
Yeah.
is that person? That person's coming.
With the 3-pointers, there's more opportunity. The sport is
Right.
built for that. It has an opportunity for that.